Hey y'all. Happy Friday, first day of August, August 1st. Uh, Working on my book today. Had to go back and edit some stuff because there was a section that I had started, and I'm like, went to brass tacks 2 days ago, and we were talking about a topic that I covered, but I was like, there was a lot of stuff I forgot, excuse me, that I forgot to add. Because I was looking at my notes, not from brass tacks, but the notes that, like, when we were talking about this particular thing, I remember saying it in the brass tacks, but I'm like, I don't remember writing it in my notes, but I don't remember adding it. So there was like a whole section I neglected. So I went back and I added the information. Um, so actually, one of the things that I wanted to talk about is kind of broader than just under that sector. So I'm going to touch on that in a minute. But first, I want to mention tomorrow, the Peach has their art walk. So definitely an opportunity to get to see the new exhibition that's up. Believe it's a photography exhibition. So go check that out. I believe they probably will have its opening tonight. And it's a bunch of different photographers and it's curated by a photographer. So tonight, chances is the opening of that, but tomorrow is the art walk. So it's always from 5 to 10. They usually have vendors and musicians. So come on out and celebrate them. And then next month in September is year 4 of the celebration of the Peach. So go check that out. Anthony is at, address to the Peach, 3950 Georgia Avenue in West Palm Beach. Again, 5 to 9 tomorrow night. Anthony's back at his studio. He pulled all his shows down for the summer season. We are still signing up people who want to host a virtual presentation of Anthony's work. These are people who are collectors and have people in their circle who are collectors that you've been wanting to showcase Anthony's work, but just haven't had the time to navigate something specific. So this is a great opportunity to do it virtually because a bunch of you can join in and buy the work literally outright at the virtual meetup. So let me know if you're interested in signing up for that. Those of you who are collectors, who are friends of mine, uh, we are starting in September, so it's a great opportunity for you guys to um, maybe consider hosting one of those, and they're great perks for the host. So consider that. So the one thing I want to talk about today, because it made me think of it on a broader sense. So the section is for mentorship, but this doesn't necessarily have to do with mentors per se. Um, it says pick someone you can trust. And that was the number one thing that I said in the brass tacks meetings. Doesn't matter how great of an artist they are, doesn't matter um, how great a businesswoman or man that they are. If you can't trust them, it's not even worth getting into a relationship with that individual or building a major relationship with that person as a mentor to mentee. One of the things that I have watched over the years is that the level of loyalty or disloyalty. And what do I mean by that? A lot of times, think about this as in a conversation. Someone mentions to you that they had a situation with an individual, and the person you're telling this to is like, wow, I've never seen that side of them before. That may be true. Maybe there was a disconnect. Maybe between you and that person there's a disconnect. But if multiple people are saying that, this person is kind of problematic, and then another person says that, oh, yeah, I had a bad situation with that individual. But then another person's like, really? Oh, they're always good to me. Well, you see, you got to do the numbers game. The numbers don't lie. 9 times out of 10, if multiple people are having a problem with that same individual, but you stay over there 10 toes down but they never did that to me, that's fine. And, that's up to you. Uh, I always say personally that if that individual has a certain behavior trait that is significantly the same for multiple people, 9 times out of 10, yeah, maybe the reason they're not like that with you right now is because you don't have something they want, or just the opposite. Maybe you have something they want. They don't want to lose that relationship. But once you're disposable, 9 times out of 10, they're going to treat you the exact same way. I can't tell you how irritated I get when somebody close to me, especially when I say, hey, you know, they did this to multiple people and myself. And they're like, oh, well, they didn't do it to me, so it doesn't matter. There, I'll give you an example, and I won't name the individual. There is an individual that recently unfriended a group of us. Um, and that individual is very well known, very well known. Um, I experienced a couple of things that professionally was inappropriate with this person, a couple of times. The person has been in my home, the person has broke bread with me, and multiple peers of mine. But what started coming up so many times is that individuals have had professional issues with this individual. And I, for the most part, kept my mouth shut. You know, I never voiced, well, he never did it to me or she never did it to me. That's not my place to dispute or dismiss how that individual is. Well, as time went on, the behavior was consistent to the point where I kind of just ignored the individual, quite frankly, because I felt like the individual had nothing positive to bring into my life, if that makes sense. Not necessarily on a professional level, just in my life in general. Just their energy was off. Um, I did not interact with this individual. So my guess is, because what I do, sometimes if I don't see an interaction with people on social media, I'll eventually, sometimes it's just that they're not active on social media. I'll remove them because I have too many individuals on my page to begin with, so I just remove them. But this is an individual that, again, we built business together, we built friendship together. Um, they broke bread in my home, and they chose to remove themselves. And I say, you know what? I should have did that a while ago. I say this to say, if the behavior is off for multiple people, don't keep putting yourself in the mix. Oh, they didn't do it to me. Because what have found out, if they didn't do it to you now, they will do it to you later. So in other words, watch your back. Again, if too many people say something to me, I don't go in and like do the gossip thing, but I'm like, yeah, you're not the first person I heard that from, is usually my response. If they ask me about my personal situation, I really never disclose that because it's not necessarily what they did to me. for you to be like, oh yeah, I knew it. If you felt that what their behavior was wrong, then it's wrong. And you absolutely have the right to feel how you feel. Um, like I know loyalty comes in numbers and that kind of thing. It's really about at the end of the day, can you trust them? Can you trust them? And my thing is, if they came off rude or they mistreat others some kind of way, and I don't say mistreat as in beat or anything, but like like disrespects them in public, doesn't provide them with support, that kind of thing. So I said, if they're considered to me inconsiderate, disloyal, and untrustworthy, period, the end. That's my point of view. You don't have to take it that way, but what I would advise is that if you see certain behaviors by certain individuals and it's consistently the same with other individuals, watch your back. I always use this other example. I won't name the artist, but uh we were looking for with the first continuum. At the time, we didn't do a call. We needed a lot of artists to fill up the space, and we were cherry picking. We didn't do a call this go around. We did at the end, but it wasn't like a formal call. But there's this individual who is a very noted artist, very well known, very well connected. But the individual is problematic at best. Um, and I knew of them as an artist. I didn't know them, so I didn't know the history of them. But a fellow peer said, "Oh, you should consider this artist." But but if there's a but, I should have ran for the hills. But I took it for what it was. I said, they go, the person's a little bit this and that. I won't get into the traits because you might figure out who it is if I mention the traits. So I reached out to a peer of mine, and they were like, "Yeah." I actually went to a couple of peers of mine who stated, "Yeah, that's definitely the personality. And knowing how you are, you may not want to deal with them." I said, "Okay." Since I don't personally know them, and they were recommended. That was the thing, they were recommended. I said, let me go ahead and the person was trying to call me. They were like blowing up my phone because they found out I was interested. They called me. We were on the phone for several hours. The one thing I took away from the conversation, and actually this particular relationship is what built how I navigate with artists, is because of that individual, was the entire conversation was about them. They had nothing to do with the show, had nothing to do with the other participating artists. It was all about them. And I was like, here we go. So they were in the show. Um, they participated in a few events. And then a former, actually, it's a collector of that individual artist, but they work in different sectors. They worked in the art business, they worked in the municipality. Great individual. I was still naive as to who knows who in the game at that point. So we're talking about 12 years ago, I guess, 13 years ago. No, actually, probably 15 years ago. So the artist was not there at the event, but this individual, she was looking at the work and she's like, "Oh, I love the work. I collect several pieces." Um, and the person proceed. I said, "Oh, well, they should be here tomorrow because we're doing like something we were doing." He's like, "Uh-uh. I never buy any of his work directly from him. I always go to an art dealer. I can't stand him." And I was like, "Then why do you collect his work?" And this is what she said, and she's like, "I like his work, but I can tell you." There are people who are collectors of his work that are just waiting for him to pass on so the value can go up. And I was like flabbergasted. I was stunned that she said that. Um, I was like, oh, okay. So we talked about some stuff. She's like, I actually have my eye on another piece on Palm Beach. I might just go that route. I was like, that's fine. I was a little uncomfortable at the time, even trying to sell the pieces to this individual. But as time went on and other things happened, I realized I still don't agree with the statement. It was a little comical, but I understood because this individual is very self-serving, never about their peers, always against other people, causes a lot of drama within their own life. So what I say to that is be conscious of who you trust. And as time has gone on in this industry, and of all the people, and I've met a lot of people, I've met a lot of people. I met a lot of great people who are no longer with us. I met a lot of people who chose to move away. Um, and I met some really a lot of scumbags. I'll just say it like that. And what I've come to realize is that I know my heart and I know what our goal is to help others. I fight hard for other people. Um, don't really think about the consequences of myself in the process. Um, because ultimately, in a nutshell, people are good. But you will have, hey Jamal, you will have your handful of not so great people. And sadly, some of these not so great people find a way to navigate themselves into your orbit. So what you have to do is kind of tolerate what's what, and dismiss them. So going back to the individual that I mentioned who was part of the game for a long time, um, I always think about the people who have been in circles that I have been in, and I've seen a side of them that many other people have not seen. There are some individuals who, they have a personality flaw with some, but for some reason they click with me. And you can tell the difference when a person just, I don't know if they feel like they don't have to show their behind, when they're around me, but they have a certain behavior with others. I don't know what that is. I don't, but I never ever dismiss somebody's feelings about an individual when it's off for them. And it could be a number of reasons. But like I said, if it's multiple, and the other thing that you can read into when it's people from other areas. So it's not even like people in the same industry or people in the same neighborhood. It's people that come from out of like from other parts of the country who know them personally or knew them for years, and they're like, nah, they're a bad individual. Be careful. Or when you find out that somebody has in your face one way, but behave a different way outside. There are a few people that I've known for a number of years, and I actually a friend of mine that I grew up with, and like it was like she was like a sister to me. And I said was because unfortunately that relationship came to the end of the road. And it's because of a choice that they actually made. Dismissal of a group of us because we're all like sisters and brothers, very, very close. And this individual proceeded to lie about some things. And it got back to me. And I was like, that's it. This person and I never had an argument ever. ever. We never argued, always got along, a father, a daughter, but there's certain things I don't tolerate. And this is what I say to y'all. If I'm willing to dismiss an individual who has been in my orbit I won't say since day one, but maybe since day two, and we were very close. There were pictures that came up on my feed where we were together 2 years ago and had the best time. But you find out some things and you're just like, so was my entire existence with this individual a lie? This person was in my wedding. This person went to my father's funeral, had, you know, interactions with my family. So was that all a lie? So if I'm able to dismiss that individual who has that long history with me, rest assured, if you disrespect anybody in my orbit, and I have a small, I have a small clique here of people that I will defend tooth and nail. And there are individuals who used to be in my circle because of certain behaviors and certain traits that I had to kind of distance myself from. Um, people are in your life for a reason and a season. So you have to kind of navigate that stuff also in your professional circle. You got to be very careful of who you let into your professional circle, the same way you would do it if it was in your family or friend circle. It's just something you just have to be good at. Um, some people it's obvious, and some people not so obvious. Like I said, the individual that decided to unfriend a group of us, I guess we were no longer of service to this individual anymore. And quite frankly, that's fine with me because they brought me really nothing in terms of the professional situation. They wasn't bringing anything of any value at this point. And I don't mean when you hear value, never always think it's this. It's emotional value. And with everything else going on between us coming out of a pandemic, a lot of people that we know have passed away because of that pandemic. Um, the climate of politics right now is ridiculous. The climate of economic uncertainty is ridiculous. So honestly, you really need to figure out who is worthy of your circle. I have my very close friends who are like family to me who are in New York. I have a circle of people that what's funny is there's a good 4 or 5 of us who are consistently in the circle, and then there are people that come in and out for different reasons. Some people move away, some people just outgrow us. Um, but that core is the 5 of us are like family, you know. I have my professional family that I will call at a dime. Some that I don't hear from often, but I can get on the phone or get in a chat or, whatever, run into them, and it's like easy breezy. There's some that are just professional friends. And then there's some that I've gotten to the point where they were very close to us and now they're not for different reasons. Hey, Aunt, different reasons. In the beginning, is it hard? Absolutely. Like I said, my friend from childhood, that one hurts because that's somebody that I trusted. That was somebody that my father knew. If my father knew this individual and pretty much adopted them like a sister, like a daughter, a sister to me, a daughter to him, and they dishonor the loyalty of our peer group, it's quite easy for me. It may not be for a lot of people. Anthony, it's so funny, Anthony's on here. Anthony and I always talk about family and what family means. And I've had individuals who are family members by blood who I have not seen since my mother died. And my mother died when I was 9. And they did not respect the honor of my mother at her funeral. And I have yet to even and did not respect the honor of my grandmother. Um, I have yet to have a conversation with them. I have no interest. Their blood, I love them because they are a relative, but I don't necessarily need to navigate any kind of relationship other than the fact that they are in my family tree and they were a relative because by default they were a relative. I can't choose a relative. Um, does that mean I have to build the relationship? No, I don't have to build a relationship. That's why for me, um, those individuals, if I can like dismantle a relationship with someone who is of blood, if you dishonor my kids, my husband, my core circle who have held on for me, ride or die, it's easy for me. It's easy for me. People will see me at events and they'll go to Anthony. Does Trina not like me? Anthony's like, no, just Trina being Trina. But then he'll ask me, I'm like, no, I wasn't really thinking about it like that. It's not that serious to me, you know. But one thing I will tell y'all, speaking of Anthony, Anthony is loyal to the core. So if you cross him, him and my youngest son are those types of people. You cross either one of them, you're done. And there are times when I feel like, dang, Aunt, maybe he's like, nope, 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 nope. And that is somebody that will ride or die for anybody, anybody, not me. I'm the hard one. I'm the one who's like, mm-mm. And Anthony be like, not even one, nope. But like for him to get to a point where he's done with you, you messed up. It's like my homegirl Angela. Angela rides for everybody. You do something wrong with her, you messed up. There's just certain individuals who I know, if they don't like you or if they're done with you, you messed up. It doesn't take much for me. It doesn't, I'm going to be honest with you. It doesn't take much for me, but it takes a lot. So you've had to push and poke and push and poke to get those three individuals to be like, nah, I'm done with you. Just saying. So, one more thing I wanted to talk about, but I wanted to talk about the trust factor. That was very, very important. And it's probably it's not the longest part of the mentorship part. There's another section in there about mentorship, but that's one of the key ones. You have to trust the person. Um, so that goes in your life, that goes in doing business, in building a relationship, starting a family. You have to trust the individual. Now, there are people, and I said in marriages, there are people that we watch on TV, like, they don't, they're in this for one reason and one reason only. And it has got nothing to do with a physical attraction or a trust factor. It's strictly about economics. Um, I don't know how that works long term. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't do it, but to each his own. That's on them. But I feel like if you want to have any kind of relationship, definitely you have to have trust in there. Because I am not, the disloyalty and the untrustworthiness of stuff, can't rock with that. The other thing I want to say is about moral support. Artists, I'm speaking to y'all now. Not even about the collectors, not even about the donors or the patrons. I'm talking to you artists. I watched Larry Brown, who is a fantastic artist out of Baltimore. Larry Poncho Brown, let me get it right. He was talking about um artists showing up to events. That has been one of the topics that has come up over and over and over again. There's a art dealer that I knew years ago. He's since moved back into town, and his number one thing was that artists should not attend exhibitions. They took artists off. This particular guy took artists off of his mailing list. He does when he used to send out emails, he took them all off. And I said to him, and I still stand by this. I have a lot of artists who are collectors. I don't mean like buy a book or buy I mean are collectors. I'm looking at a few of them now who are collectors. Like he's a collector. He's a collector. We have many in this room that we own their work and they collect work too. So I was, like I said, he's like, well, that's few and far between. It's actually not few and far between. We want to believe that, but it's not. However, that being said, artists, we have to do a better job of artist etiquette at another artist exhibition. What does that mean? So Larry Poncho Brown mentioned about our a gallery flying in a particular artist who we know who is a fantastic artist, and I swear to God, I would like to own one of his pieces. So the gallery flew the artist in. I'm guessing Maryland. I'm guessing that's where it was because, like I said, Larry's in uh, Baltimore. And he was saying how artists were like in his face, in this artist's face. And what Larry was saying is respect the fact that the artist is there for literally for a job. If a gallery flies an artist in to do the exhibition, the last thing you need to do is monopolize that artist's time. What I say is if you are not bringing something of value to the events, I agree with Larry on this aspect. Why are you showing up there just to eat and drink, eat the cheese and drink the wine? And that's he had mentioned that that's that's neither here nor there. And I'm not saying all artists do that. What I'm saying is you have to do better in when you attend these events to show value to the event. So an example of showing value to an event. Um, Anthony participated in a show, JM JM Gallery. We invited a couple of collectors. Now we invite collectors to events, not necessarily for them to buy Anthony's work because they have access to Anthony whenever they want Anthony. But we invited collectors to the event. And one of the collectors that did come made a purchase. He came early to because they don't like coming to like the big old hoity-toity, but he had been wanting to go to this gallery for a while. He said, my wife can't come, but I'm coming. I'm gonna come there early. I said, cool, because we always show up early, we'll be there. So we came in, walked the room, saw me, um, saw a piece he liked, came to me and asked me who's the curator. I pointed out the curator owner. He went, met with them, came to me, gave me a hug and a kiss, and he left. Out comes the curator, put a red dot. That's how you bring value to an event. That's how you bring value to an event. Uh, there are people who have been frustrated because Anthony and I have not been able to attend everybody's exhibition. If you're if you So our current situation right now, we don't have the best running car. We had to rent cars for business, but we don't have the money to rent cars like that on the regular. So when we find the time that we're able to go, we try to go. We do. We try to go. We try to support. We even, if we have it in our budget, we'll buy art. But we can't get to everybody's show all the time. But rest assured, we're making sure that some of our collectors and art buyers are going to your event. That brings way more value than if Anthony and I's face is there. I get it, we take pictures, we post online, But is that necessarily what you need? You know, you need somebody to come to your exhibition that's going to buy your work. That's what you need. I would rather make a call if your work is in Fort Lauderdale or in Miami. I'd rather send out invitations or mention to some people that you're having an exhibition, even though I can't be there, that collector's going to be there. That's what you want. So if you are hung up on the fact of people showing up, certain people showing up, you're missing the point of the exhibition. And if you are attending these things, like those of you who love going to the cultural council's opening, yeah, because they have the food, they have pass hors d'oeuvres, you know, we go, we do a lot of stuff with the cultural council. So we try to go when we can, but we can't go to all of them. We just can't. Um, us being there, is it gonna always bring value to the space? No. They don't need us there all the time. It would be great, but they don't need us there all the time. So if the cultural council can understand that, I'm sure many of y'all can understand that. Artists, if you are going to these events, first of all, start supporting your peers better. Buy art. Start investing in art. Start putting away money and start investing in other people's art. Because guess what? Somebody who sees that you have collected an artist's work will not just value you as an artist, but you as a fellow collector. You want that kind of relationship. Fellow collector. And I always use the example. We had a Ramel Jassir hanging on our wall. Actually, not the one that's up here now, a different one that's in the back room. We had one of his pieces on the wall. One of our collectors came over to pick up some art. They saw Ramel's stuff when they were standing in the living room looking at the wall at Ramel's piece and wanted to know about that artist. They're now a collector of Ramel's work. They will come to you for advice about what other artists do you recommend? I have my top 10 that I'm always pushing, always. And if you are lucky to be on that top 10, rest assured one of our collectors has at least one of those 10 people's work. I'm always, whenever we get invited to events, whenever we get invited, I want to make sure that we're not just there, but if we can't be there, somebody else important will be there. So just keep that in mind too. Keep that in mind. It's not only about you, it's about other people. So I wanted to say that. Those are the two things that was heavy on my mind today that I wanted to talk about. So, reminder, Anthony is at Zero Empty Spaces today. He probably will be there till about 3 or 4, maybe 5. He was there late yesterday. He was there till like 6 yesterday. Working on a piece, but he's got artwork there. If you missed his show, shame on you. You really missed a cool setup. You missed an opportunity to see a variety of stuff in a smaller space. If you went to the show in Pompano, it was kind of a scaled down version of that, a variety of different stuff. And it had his ethnic mermaids. Thank you to y'all who came out and supported, especially during Ethnic Mermaid Day. We did have people that came and colored. It was a hot day, but they managed to make it through, which was awesome. But Anthony's at zero today. 11,300 Legacy Avenue, Suite 140, Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. Don't forget, tonight, I believe, is the opening of the new exhibition. It's a photography exhibition over at the Peach. And tomorrow is the art walk from 5 to 10. The Peach's address is 3950 Georgia Avenue. See, I remember that. Don't know how much longer it'll stay in my head because we're not there. Um, but yeah, so support these artists. Please stop coming up with excuses why you can't make it to someone's studio or someone's opening, or just find a way to do it. Because guess what? You want us to support your businesses. You want us to advocate for your municipality. It's time that y'all start doing the same for these artists. Stop asking artists to do stuff for free. I'm preparing artists right now so they will say no to you. So, those of y'all who think they're hanging their work on your walls to make your space better, them days are over. Those of you who want somebody to do live art for free, stop it. Just stop it. It is not fair. If you're willing to hire a band, if you're willing to hire a DJ, if you're willing to hire a caterer, you need to understand. If you want somebody to beautify your space for the day, and you are not normally a gallerist that curates exhibitions, but you want people to have stuff, find a way to finance this or stop asking. Stop asking. I think that more your investment in bringing the artist to a location, because think about it, they gotta drive their stuff to your location, they gotta buy materials to make sure your event is cool. Your investment will show more value to the people who are part of your circle versus you just assuming they're gonna be there. And everybody's like, oh, that's cute, and keep it moving. We don't care if people walk around and don't even, if you paid us, I'm okay with that. But the minute you ask us to lug our stuff to your location in crazy circumstances like no elevators or it's hot, all these weird things. And also, before you ask any artist, any band, any dancer to do something at a space that is not the norm of what they would normally do it in, it is your responsibility to survey them being there. And you just putting up a sign for them, that's not support. That's you needed to do that anyway. So that's it. Yeah, there was a little bit of this, but you had to hear it. So hopefully you guys have a great Friday and a great rest of your weekend. I'm gonna get back. I gotta do some laundry and I gotta keep working on this book. So I will talk to y'all soon. Deuces.